So are we doing any?
Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show.
Nice intro.
This was the intro.
Nice. I like it.
Thanks, William.
Yeah,
And thanks a
short,
lot for
quick.
consulting.
Yeah, short, quick, and I don't have to sit there
Catchy.
for a minute and a half.
Exactly. Yeah, that would kill retention.
Yeah,
William, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders. Let's just jump straight into it.
sure.
What got you into consulting?
Well, it was I guess a progression of my entire career. Started obviously working for people, and then at some point after, experience and learning and all that, one finds that they've become a bad employee. And so moved into freelancing and interim management. And then once I got my, grounding there, went into total freelancing and producing, and which is moved into research and consulting, which is now moved into coaching, which underpins everything because people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people in businesses. So the coaching comes up from there.
Until AI takes it all over.
It's not
Um,
going to take it over. It won't.
so that's actually something interesting that I wanted to break down on the show for a while, just didn't have the opportunity. So we typically, we as in GHA marketing, we talk to B2B coaches and consultants because there are so many similarities between the two. But a coach doesn't necessarily like to be called a consultant. A consultant doesn't
Right.
necessarily like to be called a coach. So how do both relate in your opinion and experience, William? And how do they differ?
Um, well, they differ because the coach brings everything out of the person, right? So if I'm coaching you, I have really no idea what you're going through. And so what the coaching does is gives you options, gives you alternatives. Okay, so, you know, what is the best screen behind me, So you've got seven options. So what do you want? That is coaching. In consulting, it's usually a longer term process, and I have a certain expertise, right? Or a research, or I know how to research, and someone says, I don't know how to do XYZ. Oh, I've done XYZ 5 times. Here's what I've done. Oh, and here's some more research. And that is the difference. It's usually longer term. Where coaching and consulting come into play is that what I have found in the consulting arena is the greater majority of the businesses I've consulted with actually already know how to solve what they're trying to solve. So the coaching aspect comes in saying, okay, everybody here, let me listen to what you're saying. And a lot of the times I'm just telling whoever the principal is that this is what everybody's saying. Because you know what? A lot of business managers, for example, don't want to listen to their employees because, oh, they're just my employees. They don't know anything. I'll bring the consultant in, and if
Magic.
the consultant's smart enough, he'll just tell them the same thing as employees are telling them, and
Mm,
and things get solved.
mm.
But the two do go hand in hand because when you're consulting, it's people.
Yeah. How do you differentiate deliverables in consulting versus coaching? The reason I'm asking this is obviously, I mean, as a former consultant myself, there is, although it's not physical, it's a fancy looking slide deck, right? But there is a deliverable at the end of the consulting project, potentially others afterwards. Coaching could be different. You also can implement some deliverables, but I feel they are less required, mandatory. So what's your vision on this?
Well, the deliverables in coaching come from the person.
Right.
So when you're coaching a person, they have an issue, whatever that is, a
Yeah.
breakdown or whatever.
Yeah.
And so as you go in, now coaching is not therapy. Coaching is totally different. So if I come to coach to you saying, oh, so what's happening? I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Oh, okay. And why and why and why. So they actually provide the deliverable. In a consulting um, scenario that I've experienced is that they have a now I don't solve problems. I don't believe in problems. They have a breakdown, an issue, or whatever. And so I find out what they want, what they need. Here's the deliverable, and then I provide the deliverable. So basically the same thing, but in coaching, the person solves it themselves. And in consulting, I help them solve
Love that. That was a bit of a tangent. I loved
it.
it.
Okay.
Um,
I love
so
tangents.
that's what makes life exciting, isn't it?
That is life.
So back to you specifically then, William.
Yeah.
What specific problem are you solving and why is it important in your opinion?
Okay. So now that sounds like a niche question. Like, what is your niche? Right? And
100%.
again, when you look at, the landscape of consulting and coaching, everybody says they have to have a niche.
Yeah.
I don't have a niche. My niche is coaching and consulting, right?
Okay.
And so, because I don't believe in problems. And what do I mean by that? The word problem, for example, has a lot of baggage. What comes up as soon as someone says the word problem? Blame and something's wrong, right? And so when you start a conversation with that baggage, there's no possibility in the future, right? So problems, or what I would call breakdowns, right, come from the past. And I'll give you a little story. Many years ago, in putting a large summer festival together here in Toronto,
Nice.
the first show, which was Placido Domingo, opera singer, right? We didn't get to shake out the building, so there was a lot of challenges, right? And on the Sunday after the show, everybody was brought together, the CEO, going through the problems, and I walked out. And he comes running after me, swearing and doing, nobody walks out on me and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I says, well, you're wasting your time there. Come to me when you want, to move forward. And he says, what would you do? And I said, well, I would say, what do we want to happen in the next show? There are no problems. So you move, what do you want to happen? So if a company's having challenges with their sales, right? Whatever it is, you go, what do you want to happen? Because it's not a problem. There actually are no problems. We've got most of the problems in the world solved. We just won't do anything about it, right? We know how to solve hunger. We just haven't done it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase because I see where you're going with this, and I actually find it interesting. Because you're talking about positioning here, which is also very important.
Yeah.
So, what results do you help achieve?
See, so that's different. So what I do, and this is where coaching comes in also, is I find what's most needed and wanted by the client. Let's just call them the client, and I help them produce it. So now, as a consultant, I take the word very broadly, right? So part of being able to consult is to do the research and to understand and have a broad base of experience, right? Because I'm in my 60s, I have more experience than someone in their 30s. Doesn't mean it's better. It's just more. That's all it is, right? I left, you know, I left the airport before somebody else and I got to LA quick earlier, right? That's all it is. So coming to a challenge or a breakdown or a problem, whatever you want to call it, um, what I do is find the options for the person. So it could be sales for one, it could be marketing for one, it could be the entire process for one, right? I have a broad enough experience to be able to do that. Now, with regards to niche, I understand people want their niche, but what the niche does is put you in a box. Now you have to start somewhere. So you
Right.
start in your niche, but if you're not broadening out, so an accountant, so a person who's an accounting consultant, right? If they don't understand business, if they don't understand structure, if they don't understand people, if they don't understand where the world is, if they don't understand all this stuff, then they've got a limited amount of clients that they can work with. Because if you go in as an accountant, I could guarantee that part of the challenges is not accounting.
These people.
Yeah,
So I like the approach a lot, William. The reason I always ask this question is, and I take this simple analogy, right? You let's say you sell a time management,
right.
method
Yeah,
that you can sell for $10, right? Because
yeah,
it's very general, can help
yeah,
anybody, whatever. If you decide to say, okay, I help um salespeople manage their time better, all
yeah,
of a sudden it's not a $10 offer, it's more of $100 offer because you go a bit more niche, a bit more narrow, so you exclude people,
yeah,
but then sales people will be like, okay, this is for me. But then if you say, I help B2B SaaS salespeople of companies that just raised $5 million in Series A manage their time better so they can get three times the output in terms of demo and sales, it's not $100 offer, it's a $10,000 offer.
yeah,
So I agree with you. If you niche down, you limit yourself. But at the same time, and especially in the day and age of AI and all that
hmm
stuff going on, as a B2B coach or consultant, you want to be able to say, hey, look, I'm not going to be able to help everybody, but if you feed that particular avatar,
yeah,
I'm your guy. And therefore I'm going to be charging you more because I've helped, 100 other people exactly
yeah.
like you. How do you
Okay,
how do you see
okay. So
this?
now two things that come out of that. First of all, because of the broadness that I do, I
Hmm.
can actually do all those various niches if I
Right.
want.
Right.
Second of all, from where I've come from and my own personality, um, I don't want to keep doing the same thing.
Interesting.
Part of where I've come from, initially the theater world, then the entertainment world, and then moving that into much larger processes, is that I always analogize it to getting yourself out of a forest, right? So within the theater, entertainment, rock and roll, concert, all those things, I know how to get out of the forest. So you can drop me in the middle. It may be overgrown a bit, but I know how to get out, right? The expertise that I have found that I have is that drop me into a forest that no one's been in before, or that I've never been in before, and I know how to get out. Now, I may be totally confused at the beginning, but I have learned how to find the way out, and that's how I go into businesses. So I can niche it if I want, as I see where the trends and everything are. But if we as human beings continue doing the same thing, right, it's only going to last for so long.
Who would you say you help the most? So
Who
we've
do I help the most?
Yes, because I understand. So because you can do this for basically any industry, any
Yeah,
environment, which makes sense to me. Um, Probably means you can help anybody within those specific niches, at least as
yeah.
long as they want to achieve the results that you help them achieve. But so in the most recent cases, or the people that you've been able to help the most, who are those?
People that are really stuck.
That's literally 9 billion people on the planet.
Of course it is. And where does that stuckness come from? They
Yeah.
know where to go. Sometimes it's just giving them courage. Sometimes giving them options. Because when we get into what I have found, when we get into a dilemma, let's call it that. When we get into a dilemma, where our brain goes, and again, this is neuroscience, our brain goes into fight, what I call the critter mode, fight, flight, or freeze, right? So we don't think that we have any options, right? So you come in because it's an outside person. Oh, I can see this over here. Or what about this over here? What do you mean nobody can do this? Who said that nobody can do this? Tell me there's got to be one person who said you could. Oh, there is one person. So if there's one, there's two. So little by little, you go in the process. Now, if there are specifics that are needed, I do the research. Or I hire people to do the research. Or I bring a group in to do the consulting.
And that does make a lot of sense. How do you how do you market to the right people, William? Because
I
the
don't
question
market.
usually here,
Yeah, I don't market.
interesting. Can
It's all
you,
referral.
okay,
But again, part of that referral comes from years of meeting people.
right.
Part of that referral is conversations because if you don't have no conversations mean no business,
Amen.
right? Right? So you talk to people. You and I are talking right now,
Yeah.
right? How many people are actually utilizing whatever platform they want, Zoom or anything to talk to people?
Mhm.
How many people are using their LinkedIn to do some research and even in the unpaid LinkedIn, find people, connect with them, see what they're doing, right? But the
Yeah.
greater majority it is referrals.
So if you were, you know, if you didn't take that flight to LA earlier than I did,
Yeah.
how would you initiate those conversations today?
How would I initiate? Well, I would literally cold call to a certain degree. You know, the social media helps. If you're
Yeah.
putting content out there to a certain degree, it doesn't have to be long form Substack. It could be short form LinkedIn, could be many, many different things. How
Agreed.
many people, for example, on LinkedIn, right, which is a business to business platform, right? It's not
Yeah.
Facebook, even though some people try and make it Facebook. How many people, when someone um, comments or even just likes a post you put up, that you actually connect with the person? A lot of people don't. But then again, your network, see, what I have found is your own backyard is a good place to start. All the people that you know. So you talk to a friend. Do you know anybody? Anybody's having whatever, you know? But again, it takes time. If someone wants to be a consultant at 2:50 on Monday, November 10th, right? They're not going to be a successful consultant by Wednesday.
Yeah.
It takes time. And part of that time is the credibility that you have, the work that you've done, the people that you've already talked to, what you're putting out on social media. And it doesn't have to be content 12 times a day. It can only be one time a day, you know?
Yeah.
But it has to be real, it has to be succinct, and it
Mhm.
has to put value in people, and people will connect.
Yeah. So we tend
You
to,
connected. How did you connect?
I was looking for experienced
Right,
B2B coaches and consultants, and then I
right.
reached out
There's a
to
ton
have
of
a
them.
conversation.
Yeah, there's 900 million people on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Close to a billion indeed.
Yeah,
Active.
yeah, that's a lot of people to talk to.
It is.
You know.
So I always say, as a B2B coach or consultant,
Yeah,
if you're not getting referrals, you need to fix the service and the offer first, because
yeah.
that's the nature of the biz. You are getting business and you're getting paid good money because you are a subject matter expert that can come in and deliver results in a specific determined period of time.
Hmm.
And if your clients are not happy enough, I'm not just saying just happy, like happy enough that they're like, they would go to people like them and say, you should give a call to William
Yeah,
because we had a problem with XYZ. He came in, implemented ABC,
that's
and now we are
exactly it.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Then you can set up an acquisition channel if you want more, because
Hmm.
referrals will only allow you to go so far because you're going to grow steadily, but you might want to implement that acquisition channel. You mentioned that you only work on referrals. So are you getting sufficient business just from this? Like you've
I've got
developed
too much business.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
How would you recommend people set themselves so that they can have the same situation as you? Getting so much business that they can actually not handle it. There's always a pricing question here, but
Yeah. Well,
what would
do
you do?
great work. You know,
No.
and again, and I'm not an ageist.
Mhm.
But a 40 or 50-year-old person who's done more consulting is going to get more referrals and more work than a 25 to 30-year-old consultant who's just coming into the business. Now, did I have to go through the, my goodness me, I've got to get out there and do all this stuff? Of course I did. One of the things that I've noticed with younger people coming in, and as I said, I'm not an ageist, is that they see, for example, me, and they think that, oh, I should be able to do that in 6 months. Well, no, you can't. You know, do the work. Sometimes you have to have two jobs, maybe three. But the thing is, if you want to be a consultant, if that is your niche, if that is your job, you have to plan. So where do I want to be in 5 years? You know, and it comes down to pricing also. Um, Part of the large, and most of the things that I do are quite large. So I can't do 30 or 40 or 50. I can do three or four a year, right? But someone just coming in may have to do 20 or 30 smaller ones. So you make sure that there's a thing that I learned listening to Seth Godin a while ago. And if you know who Seth Godin is, right?
Did on one
He
of our
said,
clients' show. I
yeah,
know, I know him very well.
yeah. The greater majority of stuff in the world now is great. Very rarely will you go into a hotel and it's not good, right? Everybody's good, right?
Interesting.
You have to be remarkable now. Everybody's good.
This is good.
So remarkable means that people will remark on it. And how do you do that? You take the human into consideration.
I like
See,
that
as,
a
as
lot.
Seth Godin said in the Alt MBA I did with him a couple of years ago, um, is that you have to become famous to your tribe.
Mhm.
And part of that famous is knowing what you're talking about, having that tangent to talk about, you know, understanding where the human is coming from. A lot of that coaching and that came from your study years ago of a process called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, you know? So if coaches aren't studying these other things, whether it's CBT or life coaching or NLP or any of this stuff, just understand the human side of things, then you're just left brain and not right brain.
So that. How do you? So you're getting referrals.
Yeah.
You do a great job.
Hmm.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
How do you bring it home? Meaning, you get those referrals, you get introduced to people, you have conversations.
Yeah.
Potentially, you're doing cold calling, right? If you're a bit earlier in your career. How do you? So you made people aware of your service. You're
Mhm.
starting to appear as an SME, as an authority. How do you, William, bring this home? Like, how do you get people to cross the finish line? SOW, letter of engagement. We are rock and rolling.
See, so I um
Sales motion
I
in
don't
a
spend
word.
a lot of time on it.
Okay.
Most of the stuff is their responsibility. The buy-in, the stakeholders, all this stuff. If they want me, their RFP or whatever, if that's their stuff. The initial contact is usually by email, right? So in the email, I set out an expectation. This is what I do. Here's how I work, blah, blah, blah. And if I get a call, the proposal is in the conversation. Here's what I can do. Here's what I've done. Obviously, you're phoning me because of something else. The actual written documentation is actually the contract. That's it. And the payment, it's not pay up front or pay at the end. It's paid along the way. Okay, so in the writing, let's say there's research involved in all that. So the research is going to cost this much. I'm going to do that first. I set it out, and this is when the payment comes in. If that first payment doesn't come in, I fire them.
Put on easy.
It is very easy. But now, did I do that right at the beginning? No, I didn't. Have I been stiffed? Yes, I have. But it's
Right.
being stiffed, and all this stuff is what brought me to this process. And did I create the process? No, I learned from a lot of other people, from agencies, from all kinds of different businesses.
Yeah. So two golden nuggets I want to follow up on here. So I'm gonna note down this one, but now I'm gonna ask a question that we got from the live chat. So let me just note down this question because I don't want to forget it.
Sure.
Learning from others. Cool. So we have Stefania on the live LinkedIn stream who said the following. It's not really a question, but I think it's going to be interesting to get your thoughts on this. One of the biggest problems is that people want always to see the dream and never the sacrifice. So they want to be consultants and they plan the revenue and so on, but they do not plan what is required by themselves, also in terms of mindset. What are your
Th-
thoughts on that?
That's where you set the expectations. That
But for
comes,
whom? For yourself?
no, no, for them.
Right.
So this is what it's going to take. We as human beings are reluctant to have those basic conversations until we're not.
Yeah.
So when you're
Yeah.
talking to someone, you know, you can see the dream. They want, 700% more sales. And you go into the conversation, no, you're not going to get that. You may get 100%, and this is what it's going to take to get you there. And this is where the proposal comes in the conversation, right? And they will either take it or not. You just have to be realistic. A lot of businesses want huge dreams. And I'm not saying that you don't go with their huge dreams because maybe you can do it, but you know, there is a reality out there. And if you're a good enough consultant, you know to a certain degree where the reality is, and you know where you can take them. So I can't take you to 700%. I can take you to 100%, maybe 150%, and see where you go from there. It could be a process thing. Maybe they've got a whole management challenge, right? Or they've installed all kinds of software or something and no one's using it. And this is what they want. They want everybody to be in the cloud, right? I can say, well, you know what? For the people you've got there, half your people are going to be in the cloud because the greater majority of people don't want to touch anything beyond what they're using right now. I can get you to here, maybe a little farther. Is that fine with you?
Mm.
You know, but we as human beings are oft times unwilling to do that. I find myself doing the same thing, you know. But that comes down to your own self. Before you have the conversation, sit, what can I do for this person? And if you know what you can do, usually the pitch or that conversation will go incredibly well if you know what you can do for them.
Talk to me about learning from others.
That's the only thing that we've got.
You can learn by
Each,
yourself.
well, no,
You can
no,
do
you
the
can learn by
thing.
yourself. Yeah, but see, when you learn by yourself, you're still learning from others.
How so?
Well, if you're reading, if you're studying, if you're
Mhm.
taking a course, you're learning from others, right? Your experience, if you're going out there and you've never done this before and you're learning how to do it, you're learning it from others. Everything is learning from others, but we're doing it individually. So the way that I look at clients, right, if they come to me, or sometimes the ones I've gone out to get myself, I have come to a thing I call the three P's, and it's in this order: people, project, and profit. First of all, I look at the people. I don't want to work. I spent too many times working with jerks. I don't need to do that and don't want to do that anymore. The project is the most important. If I'm not going to learn something from this project, right? There's really something here I don't know how to do that I have to go learn. That's important. And profit comes third. So in the learning process, talk to someone. Let's just go back to LinkedIn. Oh, here's a way to connect with people on LinkedIn. Oh, I saw your profile. How did you do that? You learn, you make the connection, you learn from the person. Because you know what? Every one of us wants to talk about ourselves, what we do, what we're good at. And little by little, once you've talked about all the things you're good at, every once in a while, oh, I really screwed up there. And there you go. And there's the challenge. But they won't tell you that. And a lot of the times when you're talking to new clients, the challenge that they are bringing you is most often not the challenge that they're really after. And it's the same with coaching.
I love this, and I'm gonna double down a little on this,
Sure.
William. There are two things. There is what you know you don't know, and then there is what you don't know that you don't know.
Right.
And pulling someone in, so not learning from others individually, but learning from others by actively seeking someone's help,
Yeah.
live, direct, with coaching or anything else, training, whatever it is not only going to help you on the things that you know you don't know, but also on the things that you didn't even have an idea was
Right.
existing and could help you go
Right.
faster, which is my second point. I think a lot of B2B coaches and consultants, and I get it, they want to do everything by themselves. We are trained for it. We are trained to complete a timesheet, like indicate exactly what we spend our time on, how much time we spent on it. We are meant to like learn everything on the topic as fast as possible when we have a new project coming in because that's our job. But then we forget that sometimes it could take us 12 weeks instead of 12 months if we were just willing to pull someone in
Yeah.
for a specific thing. I'm talking about skills, services, whatever it ends up being. I think too many B2B coaches and consultants, especially the ones getting business through referrals, because they know that by just doing it by themselves, they will grow. Like they got used to get rewarded with this behavior, but taking the next step, going to the next level, actually requires to get external help. And that only makes sense. This is literally what their clients are doing when they're putting them in. I thought that was important, so I wanted to double down on it.
Okay.
What
No,
do you
I have something to add to that.
quadruple
Uh,
down then, William? Go ahead.
yeah, I'll double down. Um, through the theater industry,
Yeah.
there was a lot of things that I had to do, right? And one of the things that I found is in any endeavor or any business or any organization, everybody in the organizations has things that they don't like doing about their job, right? So I would find people and say, "Oh, you know, what do you do? Oh, you don't like doing that. Oh, I'll do that for you, little by little, right? So little by little, I made myself indispensable, right? But the second thing, there's a lot of things that I didn't, that I did terribly, incredibly badly. But you know what? I did them. So what I learned is how that all fit into the entire process. So, and I think where the distinction is important is to realize, see what a lot of people do is that they're too quick in get bringing somebody in. So they're not learning. They're not doing the struggle, right? They're a little too quick. And so the distinction is, well, you know what, I can do this here, or let me do the beginning of it, or whatever, and then I'll bring somebody in, or whatever. See, in the companies that I've built, or in some of the organizations that I've helped scale, is I always start them off with, you know, you do everything first. If you're the founder of this, or you do everything first, then start bringing people in. Why do you do that? It's because you won't be able to. Whoever comes in after won't be able to con you. You may not know everything, but at least you've got the grounding, you know. And usually, what I have found with people who want to do it all themselves, a lot of that comes from the fact that they haven't got the ability to look like a fool. Because if you can't look like a fool, you'll never learn anything. So bring the other person in.
Oh, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, William.
Okay.
I couldn't agree more. At the same time, and here I'm just going to pull from my experience at
Yeah.
PwC, right? In PricewaterhouseCooper, the thing that the partners tell you when you get in is we are not looking for good, we are not looking for great, we are looking for perfect.
Yeah.
Because we charge a very high fee for you to our clients. Like we're talking hundreds, if not thousands
Mm-hmm.
of dollars an hour, even for junior and senior
Yeah.
analysts. So you need not to look like a fool most of the time as a consultant. Actually, if you look like a fool, you lose all credibility. So again, we get reinforced to not do that, to not seek external help, because inside, obviously, you're going to see the experts. You're going to say, hey, this is, my understanding of the problem. This is what I'd like to do. I pulled up those slides, and those deliverables from this previous project that I'm leveraging right now. What do you think? But outside external help, it's a mindset shift.
It is.
How do you help your client achieve it?
Well, first of all, if the client wants perfect, I wouldn't take him as a client.
Interesting.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Second of all, when I go into, and again, because of where I come from, I would say I don't know how to do all this, but
Mhm.
my expertise is finding out how to do it. That's the approach.
That's
So
good.
I will bring them in. Now, sometimes I don't bring people in. You know what? Sometimes I haven't brought a person in and I should have a month ago.
Hmm.
You know, I'm not perfect. But each situation is very fluid. And sometimes, as all consultants know, there's brief creep. If you know what a brief is, from the agency world, the brief. There's brief creep. Oh, well, they
Yeah.
want this and this and this and this added. And,
Hmm.
if the consultant doesn't say no, then, there's where the confrontation and everything comes in. But
Yeah.
it all comes down to expectations and knowing what you can do and what you can't do. If
Mm.
you're upfront with the client on the first meeting saying, "Well, I don't really know how to do all this stuff, but here's where I have come from other things that I have done. I know how to figure it. I know how to get out of the forest."
That'd be that'd be scope creep during my
Yeah,
consulting days, but
yeah,
that does make sense.
yeah,
Um, okay, so I love this. I love taking tangents. Back to one of the questions I wanted to ask you, William. When I was a consultant at PwC, I'm mentioning this a lot today. The partner who taught me everything, was like, Guillaume, there are two type of consultants, and he was like, I'm a hunter. That's the first type. The second
yeah,
type is the farmer.
yeah,
I'm a hunter. I love the smell of fresh blood in the morning. I love
yeah.
to go after new business, not only referrals, but actually going out there and bringing in
Hmm.
the new business, the new clients. And it was like, but the partners bringing the most money in are the farmers, the ones who are able to take that initial engagement, over deliver on it, and then transform it into a multi-layered, multi-year
Yeah,
project that's going to feed all the teams within PwC. Those are the ones who go the fastest because
yeah,
they are a cash machine. And don't get me wrong, it's also because they bring that value to the client, obviously, otherwise
yeah.
the client wouldn't. How do you do this? How do you take an initial engagement and transform it into a multi-layered, multi-year project, potentially with the same person within the company or other persons within that company because they see that the
That's
individual
where
you're coaching
that's
is
a lot of the referrals.
right. So how do you do that? How do you operationalize that for a B2B coach or consultant who'd like to get into all this?
I don't seem to have to do it. It just happens
Why? Why do you think it's happening?
because I produce.
Okay.
Because again, with a broader base,
Mhm.
right? I can be doing this, right? But then I can see over here, oh, you know, this connects with this over here, and that doesn't seem to be working. So maybe in a half a year, if you want, I can help you with this, or I can help you with this. And what it is, there's a thing in the NLP world called sensory acuity, right? Be aware of your surrounding. Be aware of
The
what's
room.
happening because every challenge is not just that challenge.
Hmm.
If it's in an organization is an ecosystem. And it all connects, right?
Yeah.
And the change that me as a consultant doing in this one issue may change this person way over there, and they don't even know. Part of the
Hmm.
consultant's job then is to understand that broader aspect,
Hmm.
you know? So, do I need to? I'm not a consulting agency, so I don't have to bring in all that cash, right? You know, and so I just look and see. I just look at the landscape. Stand back, look at the landscape. Okay, this is what they want. Where are some of their other challenges? Because you're going to see them. Even if, say, you're working on accounting, some person from marketing is going to ask you a question about something. Oh, well, you're a consultant. What do you think about this? They do. If you're open and you just whatever, people tell you everything that's wrong with the company. And most of the stuff it's not wrong. It's just systems are not being done properly, or the system's too old, or they're there's legacy stuff in the company. You know, most companies have not evolved.
That's a perfect segue to a point that Stefania on the live just made, which I'm curious to get your take on. She says you can't show any weakness in corporate, but there are bubbles in the company's world. What do you make of that?
See, I've never found that. I found that in the corporate world, and again, I don't know where that person's corporate thing is, and maybe they're too far down the ladder. But in a lot of the corporate world that I've worked with, is
Mhm.
that there's a lot of weakness, and a lot of people show the weakness.
Interesting.
But again, don't forget the reality that we are confronted with comes
Mhm.
from how the world occurs to us. So if a person thinks that in all the corporate world you can't show weakness, then that's what's going to show up. So if
How
you
you
go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
So if for example, there's an old Zen story about a boat, a guy who crosses people across a river on a boat, and this person comes by and says, "Oh, I'm moving to this town here. What are the people like?" And the river guy says, "Well, what were the people like in your last town?" He says, "Oh, they were mean and nasty and all that." And he says, "Oh, you're going to find the same in that town." Another person comes, same thing. "Oh, I'm moving to this town. What are the people like there?" He says, "Oh, what were the people like in your old town?" He says, "Oh, they were wonderful and nice and generous." "Oh, you're going to find the same over there." We will find how the world occurs to us. Corporations have a default future created by the people in the organization. And the whole thing is to find that default future and see if you can change it just a little. And how is that? Is conversations for change, and and maybe moving your own mindset. Well, maybe corporate in that person's company, maybe corporate isn't adverse to weakness.
So I think it's so I see where you're coming from. I see where Stephanie is coming from. I think she had so now she's independent, but she had some pretty big responsibilities in her
Yeah,
previous companies. They I think it will depend on the company, honestly. When I'm thinking back about and who within the company you can show weaknesses to.
yeah,
Again, just basing myself on the consulting experience at PwC, um, the advice that I received earlier on and that I actually followed was to never involve HR on
mm-hmm,
matters that I would feel personally, like not comfortable with.
yeah,
But you can address those specific points with the people who directly or indirectly accept to become your mentors within
yeah,
that company and who have your best interest at heart. I mean, like, hey, I'm stuck with this, and I made the mistake once of going to the wrong person about this, and it bite me in.
yeah,
I'll let you. We are live, so I'll
yeah. I
let
know.
you finish the sentence. But there are some people where indeed you can show your weakness, and back to the letting people in to help you. We're still talking about internal here, but that's the key here: being willing to be coachable and be like, hey, okay, this is where I'm stuck right now. This is what I've tried. It doesn't seem to work. I need an external perspective, and I need your take on this.
Yeah,
And this is how you're going to be able to have that growth mindset that takes you to the next level.
yeah. So. Oh, I'm sorry.
Double down. Go for it,
Double
William.
down. Okay, so for that person, if she was in an organization, she was quite high up and all that.
Yeah,
She was actually a consultant. See, the greater majority of people in organizations are
that's
consultants,
interesting. It's interesting.
right?
It's
She
true.
was consulting. Second of all, again, go back to the human experience, right?
Hmm.
You go to your boss and say, "You know what? I'm having trouble with this." I would say that probably 80% of bosses would love to help you because 80% of bosses are control freaks. You give them the respect of saying, "You know what? I trust you. Give me a little of your experience to get me through this." And how do you do that? Saying, "I'm a little unclear on the direction you want." This is an example, right? Clarify the direction for me. Maybe give me a little boost here. 80 to 90% of people are going to help you. And if the person doesn't help you, then you should start looking for another job. Nope, I've lost your audio.
That's the choices
Oh,
of the
there it is.
direct. I muted myself.
Yeah,
That's the actual kind truth. Most people are willing to help. It's just that the
yeah.
1% that is being toxic or unhelpful is very loud.
So when you
Um,
take a look at that, now it's something you just came to mind when you said that. So
mhm.
in the end, who is the person that is um, fearful of the weakness? Is it the boss or is it the employee? Is the employee saying, "Oh, I don't want to be weak," and go to the boss and say, "I need help"? So
Yeah,
where is the reality?
that's that's going a layer deeper. I like it. And that will be for a second episode, I think, William, because we need to wrap this one up, being conscious
Yeah.
of your time. But I liked this a lot. One question that I like to ask all my guests: where where do you feel stuck right now in your coaching practice? The reason I'm asking this is, first of all, your takes on all the points today have been amazing, and we will have people listening to us either right
Hmm.
now or when the episode goes live that might feel stuck at the same point. And again, it's super interesting to hear from your peers how they think about a specific problem and about solving it. So
Good.
where would you feel stuck right now, would you say? And how are you working on it?
Actually, there's a dichotomy here. I'm stuck in everything all at the same time, and I'm not stuck at all.
Would you mind
And
to
yeah,
develop on
what do I
this?
mean by that? So as I mentioned earlier, I'm always kind of parachuting into forests I have no clue about. So I'm always stuck, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have no clue what I'm doing here. But
Mhm.
then on the other side is, well, I've got Google. I've got people I can talk to. I've got some friends saying, you know what, I got this problem. You got 10 minutes. So therefore, in the end, I'm not stuck anywhere. With regards to my business, um, the entire thing has to do with finding what's most needed and wanted for people and helping them produce it. And that's what people want. So you know what? I probably got a lifetime of clients. I'm like a pizzeria in Italy, right?
Good one.
Yeah,
I think knowing that whatever comes your way, you'll be able to figure it out and
that's
ultimately
exactly
you'll be
it.
fine.
Yeah,
And having that trust in yourself, that capacity to be like, yeah, sure, there will be some tough things happening, but I'll walk around it and I'll find a way is, I don't know if it's an underrated skill because I mean anybody would like to have that, but working on it and developing it is key.
yeah.
William, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders. If people want to find out more about you or what you do, where should they go?
Just go to my website.
We'll put the link in the description.
Yeah.
You've also earned at least one connection out of this on LinkedIn, just added you. And William, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Anything else you need or you want to chat some point later? I'm around.
Oh, we'll mention that in the show notes as well.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Will.
Bye bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.